What up? What up? I'm just chilling. Gonna share some thoughts with y'all about. I speak in this is the context of dating, but this can be in the context of many other things. So if you know Joe Dispenza's work, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, got that right here. Okay, if you are trying to change your relationship patterns, if you are trying to change an addiction that you have, and people forget that addictions can be lots of different things. So addictions are your shitty relationships where you just keep dating the same man over and over again who treats you like shit, because what you aren't realizing is subconsciously you are wired into those patterns, whether it's from childhood trauma, relationships, etc., whether it's you becoming addicted to the stress chemistry and the highs and lows. You are a part of that problem. If we don't even need to phrase it that way, but you get the idea, right? It doesn't need to be like, you are a problem. No, like, there's nothing wrong with you. It is what you're experiencing, what you're wired into, and you can change that. To be very, very fucking real with you, changing that chemistry, those addictions to what we call CANs hormones, so CAN, cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, is really, really fucking hard. And this is why people are addicted to substances that ameliorate these symptoms, right? And what is very, very challenging is when you're going from a state of constant stress, constant anxiety, that addiction to those stress hormones, and then you go to a state where you're not getting those hits. You're not getting the adrenaline, the norepinephrine, the cortisol all the time. Coming down off of that high, literally, is very scary. And it puts you in a place where there's a lot of unknown, because your body, although you're producing all these stress hormones, it's predictable, and your brain is wired for that. It likes to know what's going to happen. So let's just say, for example, you're in the shit relationship, right? To your brain and subconsciously, it's like, okay, you're in this shit relationship, but at least we fucking know how this goes, right? Whereas you're in the relationship that's healthy and different than your typical, that's why people have very difficulty regulating in the beginning, because that relationship feels unfamiliar, it feels uncertain, and it feels unpredictable in a different way, right? So that is why overcoming that initially is challenging. And in my current space of being in a healthier relationship, it is very, very fucking hard. And I can literally feel that fucking withdrawal, like that fucking, I want to make this hard. I want to have a problem in this relationship. I want to get in an argument. I want to have something to overcome. And I constantly kind of have to check myself and ask myself, like, okay, is this an actual problem with him or the relationship? Or is it me just trying to create a problem because I'm looking for a literal hit of those stress hormones? And I've always said to people, like, be careful. Because even back before I knew about Joe Dispenza and all this stuff, I would say people think addictions are just alcohol and weed and dip and cigarettes and food. And, like, there are many different forms of addictions. Exercise. And then the addictions to our own stress hormones, our own familiar, predictable, however chaotic and unwanted they ultimately are. But when people start to push through, whether it's being addicted to that substance or not, you have to face yourself. And facing yourself is the hardest thing I've personally ever done in my life, to sit there in the unknown of, I am not this person that I thought I was when I was chasing these goals and these things. And, like, that was okay, right? That person did a lot of cool shit. And yes, I would like some goals back in my life, and I'd like some more happy hormones. But it's like, why can't I generate those happy hormones without the CANs, the chemistry, right? The cortisol, the adrenaline, the norepinephrine. Why do I think that I have to have that to create the elevated states of emotion, joy, to create pleasure, to create intimacy, to create growth, to create change, to push me towards something instead of being pulled towards something, is what I say to my clients. It's like the way that we operate in this country, especially, is like, you got to dig. It has to be hard. But I always say to my health coaching clients, 333 on the clock, is let it be easy. That's something I operated under for a long period of time. Let it be easy. It doesn't have to be hard to be worthwhile. That was something that was driven into me for so long. It can be joyful. It can be playful. It can be fun. You can have elevated emotional states, happiness, joy, pleasure, ecstasy, bliss, whatever, and still have a goal and be working towards that goal and not be addicted to that can's chemistry, right? So again, back to people, women, whoever, men, I usually speak in terms of heterosexual relationships because that's what I'm in, but you got to check yourself and ask yourself, are you just creating problems because you want that? I mean, I've said to him, like, I am just so used to this being a painful experience that I can't tell, like, if I want there to be a problem, and that is very common, or if, like, there actually is a problem. Like, that's how confusing it can be. But that's why you spend time with yourself, you meditate, you sit with yourself, you keep your energy field as clear as possible. You put as much health and wellness into your body, which means limiting your social media, limiting those substances that are harmful to you, that are addictive to you, and yeah, just keeping your body as healthy as possible, because that will help you keep your frequency where it needs to be, and keep you easier to tune into yourself when there's not as much fucking friction and dis-ease going on in your body. So yeah, and I have these conversations with him around, like, his use of dip, weed, whatever, and it's like, are you controlling it or is it controlling you, right? Because everyone has their own personal meter of things, right? Like, I have my processed food that I want occasionally, but I always say to clients, like, are you driving that ship, or is it the chemistry in your body, the very predictable, chaotic, familiar versus the unfamiliar of stepping into someone who's like, wait, why do I do the things that I do? What is driving that? And is there a different way for me? And that's again, like, this is a very fucking hard thing to do. And when you do step into that unknown, it can drive, you need to be prepared and you need to be working with someone who gets it, because it can drive a lot of, like, I stepped into the unknown once and I had, like, the wildest rumination OCD experience ever. And it was fucking terrifying, right? Because I stepped into the unknown and my body had always known a predictable way of being, even though I didn't want to be that way. And I was like, fuck, I just want to go back to what I was doing because I don't want to experience this. How do I get back? And it can take a very long time to be in the void, in that middle space where you're like, I don't fucking know who, like, I'm not that person anymore. I don't know who I'm becoming. I don't have a path. Nothing's laid out for me. I feel really fucking weird all the time. That can be a very challenging and difficult space. And I also think, to wrap this up, people are in that space oftentimes, right, as they go off of various substances, and that's so hard of a space to be, that they, harm themselves, commit suicide, terrible things happen. And I think if people just knew more so that was normal, like, we would have different outcomes for people. So that work can be very powerful too. And it's like, letting people know, like, hey, when you go off of these experiences or change these experiences, like, and are confronted with yourself, you are going to potentially meet what feels like a lot of demons, a lot of thoughts in your head, a lot of things that you've been suppressing, repressing, etc. And that's why people need support when they go through this stuff. And sometimes that's just too hard to face. And there's ways that we can overcome our addictions to being ourselves, or those chaotic versions of ourselves, without having to go cold turkey, right? And having the supports that we need to get through this stuff. Because again, it is very fucking hard even to do it in your relationships, right? So yeah. All right. That was a long one, but if you stuck around, good for you.